We are continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim Hilchot Shabbat, and we are discussing the halachot of Ner Havdalah in Siman Resh Tzadichet. We are up to Seif Bet and Daf Ayin Gimel of your regular Mishna Berura Amud Aleph. Writes Maran Shulchan Aruch Mitzvah Min HaMuvchar Levarech Al HaAvuka. The preferred method of saying the bracha of Ner Havdalah, of Meoreh Ha'esh, would be on a avuka. Avuka is a torch. It's not a candle. The difference between candle and a torch is the torch has different sources of flame, which means if you have just one wick, one ptila, then that's ner. If you have multiple ptilot that are not touching themselves, but the flames are mixed, so you have the different wicks standing separate, they're not twisted together, they're not woven together, not standing, touching together, but the flames, they touch and they create a larger flame. That is called halachically an avuka, a larger fire. So lechatchila, you want to have an avuka. That's the reason that the Havdalah candles, they have a minimum of 2 wicks that are sticking out of the candle next to each other but not touching, because that is the minimum of avuka. And obviously the fancier Havdalah candles, they have multiple wicks that they are next to each other and creates like a nice large flame. The reason being, this Shulchan Aruch Seif Bet, that mitzvah min hamuvchar, the best way of doing it is to say on avuka, on a torch, veyesh mi sheomer, and there are those who hold sheim en lo avuka sarik ladik ner acher letzorech havdalah, that if you don't have avuka, then you should light another candle for havdalah chutz mehaner hamiyuchad le'ha'ir babayit, another special light for havdalah, not the one that is for seeing around the house. So you want something special that is nikar, it is known that this is for sorech havdalah. Now, this is obviously the mitzvah min hamuvchar, the best way of doing it. But if you have one candle also, b'di'evet is fine. So you'll see people, when they have one candle, they'll keep a match next to it, so they have 2 flames and so on. That's, if you can do that, amazing. If you can't, also is fine. Rabbi Chaim Ozer Grodzinski, he was the undisputed Gadol Ador in the city of Vilna, the great luminary of the Ashkenazi communities, the pre-war era, and he, in order to make a point that the light bulb of the incandescent lamps that they had back in the day is considered fire, he would actually say Havdalah Motzei Shabbat on a light bulb, on a regular incandescent light bulb, to show that this is considered fire. Because there are people who wanted to say it's not considered fire, and Shabbat, Yom Tov, it's not an issue, and so on. So to make a point, he would do that to show that this is considered indeed a flame, a fire. When you glow, when you heat a metal or tungsten metal inside the incandescent lamp, you heat it to glow. Well, this is a overly simplified way, which one the heat comes first or not. That becomes complicated scientific reality of the tungsten incandescent lamps. But nevertheless, that's what Reb Chaim Ozer Grodzinski did in order to show that is considered also fire, even though that should, halachically speaking, be considered really one ptila. But that's what he did, because he felt it was a tzorech to show the people something that was considered a michshol in other areas of Hilchot Shabbat. Ve'ner sheyesh lo shte ptilot mikri avuka. Already 2 ptilot, if you have 2 wicks, that is the minimum of avuka, is already considered a torch. Says the Mishna Berura, explaining why you should lechatchila use a avuka. She'orah rav v'tov lizaher sheyesh shel shava. Best is they should be made out of wax, not out of oil. This is Magen Avraham in the name of Arizal as well. Od katav b'shem sefer Chasidim delo yikach atze demshichan shkorin kin b'lshon Ashkenaz mipenei sherechora. They don't use things that don't smell good. It's not kavod for the mitzvah, and that basically is the concept of having and using a torch in avuka. Maran writes, continuing in Seif Gimal, Noagim nistakel bekapot hayadayim ubasiponaim. The minhag is to look at the palm of your hand and ubatsiponaim, and to your nails. Veyesh lirot besiponei yad yamin. You should do it in the tzipor and the nails of the right hand. Ve'le'echoz hakos b'yad semol, as you're still holding the cup in your yad semol. Now, you remember, you may recall that we spoke about the order of yibaneh, yayin, besamim, ner, havdalah, that the way you do it is you hold, of course, the cup in your right hand, at least for those who are righty. Like the lefties have a bigger problem because according to halacha, the lefties should be holding everything that they say bracha on in the left hand, but according to mekubalim, everything, even for the lefty, should be in the right hand. This has nafkaminas for regular brikat hane'enin. It even has an nafkamina for lulav and etrog, whereas a regular person would hold the lulav in the right hand because this has the majority of the four. 3 out of 4 are attached to the lulav, and etrog in the left hand. The lefties, according to Shulchan Aruch, should be holding the lulav in left hand and the etrog in the right hand. But again, al pi Kabbalah, the minhag of many communities, especially the Sephardim, has evolved to be that we don't differentiate between the lefties and righties in that manner. But we did mention that when it comes to Havdalah, you hold the cup in your right hand, you say Bar Priya Geffen, then you need to say the bracha and besamim. So besamim also have to be in your right hand when you say the bracha. So therefore, you switch the hands, holding the wine in the left hand, the besamim in the right, and you say bracha. Now before you switch again the wine to your right hand to say the actual bracha of Hamavdil, you use your right hand to be neheneh from the meoreh ha'esh as you say the bracha, and to look at the palm of the hand and the tziporen as well. Now, you've seen people who do like this and look at their hand as it's straight. They look at the tziporen and the light shining in their tziporen and the palm of the hand straight like that. And al pi Kabbalah, it's not like that. It's held, the agudal, the thumb, held in the middle of the palm, covered by the other 4, this way, creating an area of shade also inside the hand, which is the palm of the hand, and while looking at the tziporen at the same time of the other 4 fingers. That the Ramah says you do with your right hand. V'yesh lichfof ha'etzbaot. A person should bend their fingers letoch hayad, inward, to cover the half of the hand. This way you could look at your palm and your tzipornaim at the same moment. She'az ro'eh basipornaim ina kapot bebat achad. You could see them simultaneously, the palm of your hand and the tzipornaim, the nails of your fingers. Ve'lo yir'eh peneh ha'etzbaot she bifnim. You don't see the inside of the etzbaot because they are bent. You only see the palm of the hand, and this is again based on Zohar HaKadosh, and that's brought in Bet Yosef, and the Ramah over here codifies it as well, to which the Mishna Berura writes, the reason that you look at your hands, your palm, and your tzipornaim, and so on, is a litmus test. It's a test. Because benefiting from fire, from light, is when the minimum of it is when you have enough light to be able to differentiate between different coins that are similar. So that is considered enough light that you are benefiting from it. So you get close, that's why you want to see, to be able to see the light, palm of your hand, and in the ציפורניים, ולכך נוהגים להסתכל בציפורניים, לראות אם יוכל להנות, to see if there's enough light that you can actually see in the light of the candle, or להכיר בין מטבע למטבע, to see if you have enough light equivalent of which would be sufficient to differentiate between the coins, just like you could see the line between your flesh and your tziporin, which is close in color. The area around the nails is very similar in color. In dark, a person would not be able to see it unless you have a certain minimum amount of light, which is not a lot, but again, depending on how far you are from the candles, it would be something that would be a necessity to do. So that's the reason. Lichfof ha'etzbaot, this that we bend the etzbaot, means all the four fingers, aside from the thumb, and you bend them over the aguda, over the thumb. So your thumb is bent inside your palm, and the other four are bent over it, covering. And now when you look in, you have the sight of your palm at the same time as you are looking at your ציפורניים. Now, that being said, the Arizal used to bend his hands exactly like that in the right hand, and the thumb is covered, and you hold it in front of your face, and he would say the bracha, and not like the people who would do it straight hand in the back of the fingers and the front of the palm. That would be incorrect al pi Arizal, based on the Kabbalistic writings of the Marchu, and that is codified, is brought in Kaf HaChaim as well over here in our Seif. Says the Mishna Berura, says the Shulchan Aruch, rather continuing on Seif Dalit, En mevarachin al haner ad sheyotu leoro. You don't say a bracha on the candles until it is fit to be neheneh from the light, to benefit from the light that you have, which means the hainu sheyes samuch lo, that you're close enough. You're not seeing from the far the gabbai singing in front of the shul, and you're on the other corner of the shul seeing the flame, but you can't really benefit from it. So that's not something that you could have kavanah and say, oh, I listened to the Avdalah. That listening to the Shelech Tzibur is not going to work for you as far as the bracha of Besamim is concerned. The rest of it is fine, but as far as the bracha of Moreh Ha'esh rather is concerned, the rest of it is fine. Of course, Besamim you need to smell it as well yourself, but provided that you have a Besamim, you could do from far and listen to the bracha. But Moreh Ha'esh, you have to be close enough to the fire they could benefit from it, and hence you can't say the brachas Shulchan Aruch and mevarachin al haner ad sheyotu leoro until you are close enough to be able to benefit from the ner of Havdalah. The hainu sheyes samuch lo bichdei sheyuchal. You're close enough in a way that you can recognize between different coins, matbea medina zu lematbea medina acher, different coins of different countries. And on that, the Mishna Berura writes, V'al ken, im hu yotzeh bebirkat Havdalah machlim. If you're listening to Havdalah from other people, and you want to be yotzeh also with the Moreh Ha'esh, yikrav atzmo etzel ha'esh, you should get close to where the fire is, enough that you could differentiate between different coins of different countries. This way, you're not just fulfilling your obligation of the mitzvah of Havdalah, but you also have done Moreh Ha'esh, and you don't have to go back and say it over again, which basically concludes this Seif in Shulchan Aruch. Now, the Ben Ish Chai writes in we generally speaking assume that the Sefer Torah Lishma, which was authored anonymously, not anonymously, is signed Yechaskel Kochli, which actually is Gematria Yosef Chaim. So Rabbi Avraham Ades was the first one that got the wind of this and said that the author really is the Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai was the one that brought it to publishing, but the myth was that this was somebody else's that he found, and he wanted to do chesed with the author. But Rabbi Avraham Ades said no, the author actually is the Ben Ish Chai himself, and he actually even wrote a letter with 10 questions to the Ben Ish Chai. The 10th question being, who is the actual author of Sefer Torah Lishma? And he sent back a letter answering 9 out of 10 and leaving that question kind of like blank, not wanting, because he knew, Rabbi Avraham Ades knew that he's not going to say that something that's not factually correct on a letter. So therefore, so Kachava, the Ben Ish Chai skipped it. Chacham Ovadia has a tshuva on this. He is not convinced that the tshuvot of Torah Lishma were written by Ben Ish Chai. He has multiple stirot and questions that would indicate otherwise. But at the end, he says in Kabbalah, in Kabbalah, generally speaking, we do assume that it comes from the Ben Ish Chai. So he writes that the same halacha is when you have the min hadin, really halachically speaking, ber bon halacha, so long as you could differentiate between matbea and matbea, between different coins of different countries, you're good to go. But at the end of the day, mitzvah min hamuvchar is that you should be close to the fire and see the geschmack light. So it's not that I'm close enough that I could definitely see a matbea. But you get close, mamash, that you have like a shefa of or, and he says that is certainly mitzvah mina muvchar. The question also is, do you have to benefit from the light before you say the bracha, or after, or both? What's exactly the thing? So this already Rab Chaim ben Yisrael ben Beneshti, Harav HaChaviv in Knesset Gdolah. He was one of the Gdolei Poskim that the Maran Chida writes about him. He says, no posek could paskin any halacha without first having looked also, aside from working on the sugya, but also having looked into Sefer Knesset Gdolah. So he writes in Knesset Gdolah, in Sherek Knesset Gdolah, he says that before you should look, before you should say the bracha, Berura Ha'esh, and only afterwards look at the palm of the hand, and that's the Pornaim. And this same thing is written in Seder Hayom, in Ginat Veradim. It was the Av Bedin of Egypt, and so he writes that that's the minhag. That's what people do. It says first the bracha, and then benefit from looking at the hand and benefiting from the light. Rav Moshe Feinstein of the Ashkenazi poskim of the recent generation also writes the same thing in Chelek Hey of Orach Chaim, or the later editions of Ikrot Moshe that was printed. I believe this is already after he passed away in Chelek Chet. It was printed afterwards. So he also paskins the same way, that the minhag is to say the bracha first and only afterwards look at the hands, and the Sidur of Yabetz, Yaakov Emden, has it the same way. Again, this is a list, a illustrious list of poskim. We discussed this before when we brought the Mishna Berura that says in Siman Resh Tzadi Vav, says otherwise, that the person should look first and benefit first. But at the end of the day, there are those who disagree with the Knesset Gdolah, that a person should be looking beforehand as well. And he brings proof from early sources of Shibbolah Likid and so on. So Chacham Ben Zion Abba Shaul writes in Or Etzion, his students in Chelek Bet, Perek Chaf Bet of Shelot Utshuvot Or Etzion, he writes that a person should bring their hands close to the light before the bracha, and this way you know that there is enough light, and then you say the bracha. He's not happy with those who light the match after the bracha. So why are you lighting the match after the bracha? You have to have the light already ready from beforehand, and then you say the bracha, and that's why before the bracha, the shamash, the one that's helping out and is holding the candle, he raises the candle. This way the surrounding people could see the light, benefit from the light as well. And so this stays again as a debatable subject, whether or not before or after. So a person should get their hands close and then say the bracha, and then benefit some more from it, and that would be basically Lekula Alma, covering all your bases. That really brings us to Seif Hey, which Bezat Hashem will continue and learn in the days to come. Hazaku Baruch.